Well, hello. This is Michael Connolly. I'm the director of Odyssey Training Center, and I'm here today with Erin Gazelka, one of Odyssey's newest trainers. How long have you been with Odyssey now, Erin?
I was not prepared for that question. I can't remember when I started with you all. I would estimate maybe 2 years. Does
I
that
was going
sound
to say
right?
2 years. That would be my guess. So,
Yeah.
for 2 years now, Erin has been doing a great job training numerous classes at Odyssey. And so, the whole idea today is just to talk a little bit with Erin so you, as prospective students, can kind of get to know her. So, Erin, I mean, I hope people who are watching this have read the bio profile that you provided. And I have to say, it's very impressive. And, one of the first things that I notice is the first sentence that your goal and your vision of focusing on both psychology and the criminal justice system and the confluence of those two, which is, of course, a huge part of what my career has been as well. So tell me about that. What got you interested in the confluence of criminal justice and mental health substance abuse issues?
Well, it was sort of a strange accident. Like you're saying,
Ah,
like it'd be impossible to do substance abuse work and not encounter the criminal justice system.
yes.
Um, but I think what happened for me is as a as a youngster, I wanted to be a lawyer. And the plan
Oh,
was always just law school. And what's interesting is along the way in getting to law school, I studied a lot of psychology. I just figured it would help me as a lawyer. And what's particularly interesting to me is in college, my academic advisors explained that pre-law students don't really do anything. They can take as many poli-sci classes as they want or, whatever interested them. And they explain that people major in something else while they're waiting to go to law school. And it seemed really disappointing and jarring for me that you're just waiting to go to law school. So I started exploring a lot of things and I considered pre-med work and did a lot of studying of physiology, pharmacology, and biology. And I fell into the psychology department in my college. And so I had some mentors who studied motivation, learning and memory, and cognitive psychology. And so that's my bedrock. I went to law school anyway, and I hated it. So
did
it's
you?
but yeah, I did. I went there and it was a culture shock. It felt like it was uncomfortable for me that people had this different frame than what I was used to with psychology students and the psychology professors. The whole time I was in law school, I'm like, how do I put this back with psychology? How do I make this make sense for me going forward in a career? Because I knew if I just stayed a lawyer, I didn't think I would be very happy. Um,
Mhm.
so by the end of law school, I was looking at forensic programs across the country, and I was trying to figure out how could I merge these two interests again. And I went out to University of Denver. I flew to Denver and interviewed in that program. It was one of five at the time in 2005 or six. This is a long time ago now. Um, and instantly fell in love with it. It felt like home. And so I came out here. And what's crazy is I came to Denver thinking that I was probably going to be an expert witness, but I was so young, I wasn't an expert in anything. I don't know why I was thinking. Um, and so then I fell into some work. I picked a field placement that I thought I would really dislike. And what I picked was juvenile probation, counseling, substance abuse. And I
Oh,
thought that I would hate it on all four reasons. So I thought I would dislike working with adolescents. I thought I would dislike probation in the system. I thought I would dislike therapy. And I thought I would dislike working with substance use. And so I usually tell this story to students. Um, to get them to understand why I was wrong on all four. So I instantly just fell in love with the overlap of therapy and the criminal justice system from that instant. So it turns out I love teenagers. They're great to work with and really inspiring. And when I graduated into the adult system, adults are just like teenagers. You know what I mean? Like they have some of the same hangups and developmental issues that we got to work on. I love, I love correctional psychology and became an expert in risk need responsivity models. So I like working with people to stop criminal thinking. I really loved it. And I loved therapy. I had no idea that I would love doing therapy work because I was a lawyer, right? So I became a lawyer. I took the bar exams, and I didn't think that therapy would be my thing at all. But I loved it. And then substance abuse. So something I talk about with students is I lost my father to alcoholism 12 years
Oh,
ago. So when I was going through school, I was seeing his health decline because of substance use. And so we were really in the throes of it when I was becoming a counselor. So I really thought that substance use work as a therapist would be a huge struggle for me. And it turned out I just have like a boundless amount of empathy for people struggling with substance use issues. And so um, from there, the rest becomes history because then I met Thea Wessel in school, and she
yeah.
has
Thea is also,
really
one of the trainers here at Odyssey, who I've known
yes,
forever,
yes.
and so yes, you met Thea.
And she convinced, persuaded, strongly encouraged me into becoming a BHA trainer with her and, working on all these modules that we do. And, I sort of fell into teaching, and teaching came latest in my career, but I love it more than anything. So,
Wow. Yes. I mean, I was just going to ask you. I mean, I know from your profile you did some teaching at, have done teaching and continue to do at DU, Denver University. But what's it like teaching workshops? I mean, that's much. I taught at universities for a little bit too, but a 2-day workshop is a very different kind of learning experience than taking a class over a semester. So what do you enjoy about doing the trainings, for the CAC at Odyssey?
yeah, they're hugely different, right? Like, so I've taught at several universities locally, and I've been an adjunct professor of psychology at DU longer than anywhere. So I've been there 13 years. Um, and I love being a professor. I am definitely aligned with it, and it's a longer term process, right? Like kind of slowly working with people to get them to change how they're writing about things, how they demonstrate their thinking. Like, that's a
Hmm.
much longer and invested process. The nice thing about trainings or workshops or working in this sort of shortened format is as hard as it is to be a student in them and to do an 8-hour day in training, you really get to know people, and they're smaller classes, right? So you're working with just a smaller group of people, getting to know them as professionals, and hearing how they think through things, uh, and spending such a significant amount of time and watching them absorb a huge amount of knowledge in a short period of time. It's very satisfying. So it's an instant gratification sort of teaching, right? Like it has this immediate payoff. And you can see the students kind of over the 2 to 3 days in such a workshop be like, whoa, this makes so much more sense to me. Or now I get this, or I understand why I had to take this course and why it's part of the addiction tracks. And so I have really liked it. I've really liked it alongside being a professor.
Yes, and I think that the part I have really always enjoyed is that immediate kind of, well, reinforcement, I guess you'd call it, because
Yeah.
the thing about that short, intense professional training is people who are in those, our students are taking this material and they're applying it tonight. They're applying it this week. I mean, it's not something they have to wait to do. Like you had to wait for 4 years to get a degree to go to law school, just waiting around doing. I
Yeah.
mean, this is stuff that is immediate and is effective and is helpful in their careers and development, which I find amazingly, just amazing.
Yeah, I was going to say, just to tag on to that, it's one of the most satisfying things, especially when you're doing the skills courses like motivational interviewing or clinical supervision, when they go try things in their sessions that night or the next day, and they report immediate reflections on seeing improvements in themselves. And so um, those are probably my very favorite to teach. I know I don't do a lot of the virtual teaching for Odyssey, but um, I love teaching these things in person. It's lovely.
Yes. Hmm. Yes. I mean, it's a brave new world out there now with technology and everything's virtual. But yes, the actual live interaction with people,
Mhm.
just can't be replicated anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like therapy, trying to do therapy on Zoom. I mean, hey, it's great. It's great access. It gives many people the ability to connect, but it's not the same as live for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to shift gears because we've talked about the professional stuff for quite a bit now, and I just wanted to ask you, when you're not doing all the many things that you do, it's hard to believe you have any free time, but what do you enjoy for your free time? What do you like to do when you're not being a professional?
For sure. Well, that's funny to me almost because I really blend professional with personal. And so I find, that's how you keep meaning in your work, right? Is when it matters to you and
Mm-hmm.
you're applying it in the personal setting. So I will say, um, I mentioned the potential pre-med pathway I was considering when I was in college. And I really have a knack for biology-based things. And because of my own health journey, I started self-researching nutrition. And it's interesting because it was an Odyssey course when I was training way back when. One of the instructors at Odyssey was well versed in nutrition and its applicability um, to addiction work. And that got me thinking. And with my own health journey and what nutrition mattered, I actually incidentally became a chef in 2022. So I'm a whole food chef. I
Oh.
love talking nutrition. I love cooking. It's something I used to do with my dad, and he was a cook. And so I became this whole food chef where I learned all these nutrition based practices around chefing. And so I learned the traditional French cuisine stuff too, all the fancy stuff that goes with culinary school. But I picked up that trade and then immediately started studying my holistic and functional nutrition pathway. So I've been studying nutrition for about a year solid. I have to take it one course at a time because of how much, professional stuff I am doing. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm a little over halfway through that program and plan on becoming a full nutritionist by trade. So I'm very interested in functional medicine and how we improve the body's functioning and how important things like nutrition and exercise and stress management really are for all of that. So um, it is of my utmost most interesting pursuit outside of the professional, even though I plan on turning it professional. So I have some interesting ideas around it in terms of how to bring nutrition to people, and maybe not going a traditional route, setting up a nutritionist office, but I love it. I love food. I love gardening. I like a lot of the issues around ethical sourcing of food. And just the
Mm-hmm.
utter importance of plants and animals, like the synergy of those things for our bodies, and in trying to gain energy from them in a way that is ethical and respectful, of where we're at in the planet. So I have a huge tie to food and nutrition.
Well,
So,
that is fantastic because I mean, I've always been a big believer that a huge part of recovery, just kind of speaking personally, I guess, is recognizing you have to change from just consuming drugs to consuming food was a big shift. And then you really have to focus on real food.
yeah.
And a big part of recovery, I think, that's not focused on enough, and I've always said this, is the nutritional part. I mean, I
Mm.
think that I mean, I know it's hard for people to hear and hard for people to make changes, but just even small changes in your food intake can have huge benefits for the people we're working with. And just as a side note,
Yeah.
in my semi retirement, my wife has finally convinced me to learn how to cook. She's quite the cook and gardener herself.
Nice.
And so, I'm kind of semi retired and I now find I enjoy cooking. So I'm just a novice, I'm just starting, but it's really fun. So for the first time in my life, I'm cooking.
Absolutely. Well, and anyone who has taken BHA courses with me has heard me rant about nutrition at least once. And so I'll talk about it all the time because, doing the substance abuse therapy work that I've done in the criminal justice system for the last 17 years. I've just watched clients come in with their bags of chips and energy drinks and candies from gas stations that they
Their
stop
their
by.
big gulp of Coca-Cola that's 49 ounces.
Yes. And watching them and saying, "Oh wow, honestly, could you believe that that stuff might be contributing to cravings?" And then they're like, "Tell me more." You're like, "Well, let's talk about it." And so, I think it's something I found clients really interested in as well. I think for some of the same reasons it was so interesting for me, was repairing my own health, and some issues that Western medicine didn't quite catch. And so
Hmm.
that's where the interest came from. So that one's huge. I mean, as far as fun stuff, I'm pretty connected to the arts. So I'm a painter. I love music. I have opera season tickets. I live for the opera. I hike. I'm an amateur photographer, so I do all that stuff. And so I'm pretty invested in staying in nature, trying to stay connected to the outside, the outdoors. And then, interfacing with it and sort of this creative space around art. And so
Well, that is fantastic. Well, Aaron, we're just about out of time. So I just wanted to thank you. It's been really a pleasure. And it's, for me, a real opportunity to get to know more about you. I mean, I didn't know much. And so I feel like I've gotten to know you a little bit better. I really appreciate that. And what I think is most important is that prospective students now, I think, get a much better sense of who you are as a person and, what to expect from you as a trainer, which if I was a prospective student, I'd be signing up for some of your classes here.
well, thank you.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciated your contribution to Odyssey and the training that you've done and what you do for all the students here, as well as all the other work that you do in this field. So I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time and so on.
Thank you.